Hello everyone. Yesterday's session I was explaining about Hibernate, and we stopped in between. So I will continue from there. We stopped because of my power went off, and my battery is not having that much of power backup. So we'll continue from there, right? And this session is only for you all those who are watching my videos on YouTube. These sessions are not like I'm teaching anyone or I am training anyone or I'm mentoring anyone. It's only me talking to myself. So if you have any concerns, any clarification you need, if you have watched my video, if you have any concern, any clarification you need, you can always connect me over the mail, comment on the YouTube video, message me over the LinkedIn. In one of the video, I think one of the in previous session video, I think I have shared my phone number also. Call me. I will be happy to have a one-to-one discussion with you all. These videos are very basics and it gives a basic information about how Java Hibernate can be integrated. If you want to go in depth, if you have to integrate so many things into that, you can always call me or message me, mail me. So let me share my screen and we'll continue from there where we left yesterday. So here, this is all might be seeing my screen, right? Yes, my screen is visible now. So here it is the program which we are doing yesterday, and I have explained how to retrieve and how to insert, right? And I was explaining something about Hibernate also. We'll go through that. We'll explain about Hibernate and then something about logging. I was explaining the logging coming into in consoles, right? Without I've not given any most of the SOPs. I've not given that much of SOPs, but we can see so many things coming into the console, right? When you run a Java program, we don't see that. So that was Hibernate logging. I will talk about Hibernate logging, what it is. You know. And yesterday I was talking about Hibernate Session Factory, right? I was talking about Hibernate Session Factory that I will. My Eclipse is little bit, it's little bit stuck. Okay, so Eclipse is here now. Version DO, right? And Hibernate utility. If you go to Hibernate utility, Hibernate util, we are looking into why this Eclipse is for. I think I need to restart my Eclipse and it will work then I think so. No, if you are working on this Hibernate or Spring framework and many projects, you will remember all this code, how to do it. You not refer to that's how all these. So let me open all the files of my system. Let me make this Eclipse little bit active. Eclipse seems to be inactive. Let's open all the file. Eclipse will be active and will. Uh, mm, we are talking about. I was talking about Hibernate session factory. This I was talking about yesterday. Configuration this and configuration dot build session factory, right? So I will see, since I am not a trainer of I'm not training anyone, I'm not a trainer, I've not prepared all these, since all these contents are available already in internet. If you Google, it will be easily available, with digital information. What extra I will do by preparing a PPT. So that's the reason I have not prepared a PPT. If I want to tell you something, I'll go to Google, I'll Google it, and I will just tell you and explain it. So see here, I did a Google Hibernate session and Hive session factory. So it is clearly mentioning here, people who are trainer, working for specific organization, they will have PPTs, they will explain. But I'm looking for my job until unless I find a job. So I'm planning to upload some, small POCs applications which will help engineering students, freshers, fresh graduates learning Java and its framework. You see, yesterday I was talking about Hibernate Session Factory, right? So this session factory is a factory class that creates sessions. It will create session objects which are used to interact with the database. The session object will interact with the database. Session factory will give you a session object. So we see there is something called factory pattern. Now some design patterns, there is singleton pattern, factory pattern, facet pattern. Maybe in coming session or maybe in one of the session, I will talk about few design patterns which are needed everywhere, right? So session factory is basically implementing factory design pattern where it will returns you a session objects, which session object, and the session object is used to connect or interact with database. To talk to database, you need a session object. So session factory is a heavyweight object typically created once per application and configured with database details. The session factory, but it is a heavyweight object created once per application and configured with database. Only once it will be created. It's kind of factory pattern, which will give you only once the object of session factory. You can such kind of singleton. Singleton means only you get one object. It catches SQL statement and other metadata and provide a second level catch. Basically, what it does, session factory, it is created once per application and configured with database. It catches SQL statement and other metadata. No, whatever the SQL statement you send, metadata you send, it will catch all that, and accordingly it will perform operation. In contrast to session factory, session objects are short-lived, representing a single unit of work with database and providing a fast load batch. Session factory sessions are basically for the particular session. Session factory can have many sessions, and what happens when you send a request? You send a request, the transaction starts, keep the database, execute the command or SQL command, whatever it is, return back the query response, and that session is done. That execution is done that particular amount of time, right? And it is fast level catching. So that is what fast level catching means. It will go to the query, it will fetch you. It will not hold anything in memory, right? So session factory, and this is what that session private, session factory, and session. Especially there are so many key differences given here in below. Key difference lifespan. Session factory is long lived while session is short lived. That's why it is for each request, right? Says session is for each request, but session factory will be throughout the application. And let's say one application starts and does many operation, and in that many time you create database. So each request go to the can be a different system, can be a same system. Again, it depends on you how you configured your session to go and talk to the database and come back. If you want to say use the same session, you can always use the same session. Otherwise, you will have a new session. So purpose of session factory, session factory is responsible for creating session objects and manages the entire data persistence layer, including connecting pool, thread pooling, and JDBC integration. Sessions handles interaction with the database, managing transaction and entity lifecycle. This is what a session factory. And is a first level cache, second level cache. I'll show you in some of the example. One of the example I will do and show you how it is catching and how it is first level cache, second level cache. So in catching, it is saying second session factory provides a second level cache for data that can be shared between session objects, while session provides a fast level cache. Right? So session provides a second level cache for data that can be shared between session objects. So if you go to the resource, creating resource uses, while differentiating between session factory and session, creating a session factory is resource intensive, so it's typically created once and reused throughout the application's lifecycle, right? Once created, that means kind of a singleton, that singleton object. Session objects are tied to it and should be created and closed as needed each unit of transaction, each unit of work. That's what I said. No, a transaction. How you are maintaining a transaction? Like, let's say now your customer has logged into your let's talk about banking application, right? When a banking application, a user logs into his net banking account, what happened? So his session get created in the browser, right? Now let's say he's transferring money from one account to the other account to his one of his friend. Then first time he transferred to his friend, then he transferred to his family, then he transferred to someone else, right? So see, when he's transferring his to his friend, his family, and someone else, it should be different transactions, right? So friend should be one transaction, family should be one transaction, then your friends would be someone else would be another transaction, right? So if you keep it as one transaction, then that is a problem. So you should know how you're going to handle the balance transfer from one account to the other account. Are you going to keep it with one session of your browser session, or are you going to make this as a different transaction based on Hibernate session, right? So if you think about Hibernate session or talking to database, this will be different transactions, or this will be different transactions, and this will be different session, right? Each session will have their own transaction. So we're talking about contest. Session is bound to specific thread or contest. Session factory manages the life cycle of session objects. No session is bound to specific thread or contest, and session factory manages the life cycle of the session. How long that session will be live. Right? So see, after this Hibernate session, I will show you some sample example how Spring and Hibernate is integrated and how Spring and Java application is integrated. Right? So in that case, when I'm integrating Spring and Hibernate with the service layer, Spring will be in the service layer, and your data access object will be in data layer. So when I'm integrating service layer with the database layer or data access layer, that time you will see how the transactions, is how the session transaction, Hibernate session transaction is maintained. I will give you one example. I'll show that. So in essence, in essence, at the end is given. So the contest is session is bound to specific thread or context. That what each request is particular. When you send a request, through REST API or to the kind of services or messaging request, it is always one thread, and in that particular thread, whatever perform transactions get performed, that session is attached to the particular thread. When that thread dies, that session also dies. And another session factory will give you another session for another thread, right? So that's how it is goes. For example, taking let's say multiple users logged into the same application, right? And multiple user from the net banking, they're transferring their money, balance transfer, transferring money from one person to the other person. So they each user have their own transaction, right? On balance transfer, and each balance transfer will be one thread or one request. If you look into user perspective, layman perspective, then you will feel, oh, I'm in one session only. No, I logged into my account, I did everything in that particular account. No, you as a developer, you do not require you do not require to look into user login as one session when we're talking to database, when we're talking to many other applications, right? Yeah, for user point of view, for browser point of view, it is one session. When the user logged out, that session is logged out, right? But whatever transaction is happening internally, that concept we will look into, then each thread will be a request to the service layer, and each request goes to the service layer. Basically, it is a single session, each session for that service layer. That's how it is. That's how here it is works. Here, if you remember, when you log into a browser, the first time you log in and you log out, that is a single session, right? Similarly, a request you send to service layer, the request goes to service layer until unless they give you a response. That will be a single thread, and that will be a single session. That's how it works. This is very simple. In essence, think of session factory as the master object that sets up the connection to the database and provides a way to create new session for each interaction with the database. Session object are the individual workers that perform database operation, like saving, deleting, or updating entities. That's what we have seen this example, right? Let's go back to the Eclipse. These all you have seen, right? Properties, these properties you have seen. When I'm integrating with Spring, I will take out these properties from here. I will show you this function properties, how you can have it in a properties file, and how you can delete it from the properties file. Here also you can do the same thing, right? If you see this property object, this property class of Java, it will have uh, it will have so many see it will have so many constructors, right? If you pass according to the constructor, it will read from the properties file also, right? System.get properties you can do, and you can read from the properties file. So let's not do that manually. We will configure it a file, and Hibernate will read from it file. I will show you when in coming session when I'm future session when I'm integrating it with the Spring, or maybe only I will show you in Hibernate, and then I will show how Spring and Hibernate get integrated, right? This is this is the Hibernate. This is the session factory class what I was explaining yesterday. And if you have any queries, any concern about this, why this class is created, why the session factory object is first getting created, and then from session factory why you're getting session. That is the reason I have two method here. In first method, I'm creating the session factory. In second, what is getting it is creating It is getting the session from the session factory. So this is how this Hibernate class. Let's go to the our data access class, data access object. Here. So see, rather repeating this piece of code, getting session factory and get session. So what I did, I have created one particular method here, get session, and that method I will be calling in each and every methods I'm using here. It is, what it does. It basically help us to reduce the line of code. And it makes more readable, right? So here, if you see line number 19, same method get session. I'm getting the session here, and then what I'm doing, begin transaction. See, whenever you are trying to write something or update something in database, always it is better to begin a transaction and then you know persist, then call the method update method or save method or persist method, and then do a commit, right? Then do a commit, because if something goes wrong, if you have started a transaction, then it will roll back. If it has interest, if it has inserted something into the database and something went wrong, it will roll back. So that is the reason you always need to have a begin transaction and then commit transaction at the end to make successful your transaction. And in between that, if any exception comes, it will take care. You do not require to worry about that. That is the reason you should always put begin transaction and commit whenever you are doing create operation and update operation, right? For retrieve and delete. For retrieve, you are not writing into the database. You are only just fetching the information from the database. That is the reason it's not required, right? So let's run this program today again and see, create one more record today, and from there we'll go ahead. See, let me comment out this for loop. This is for retrieval. First, let me see retrieve this, right? Let's retrieve this. See, for everything, internet is giving lots of resources. For technology, it has lots of resources on internet. If I prepare a PPT, that will be very less, and I have to segregate. Better you go and read the documentation. You will have lots of knowledge on technology, right? Preparing PPT from different other thing is fine, but not for this. See, it is saying connection refused or connect, right? Why the connection is refused? Yesterday I said if connection is refused, just check if your service is running. I think I have not started my service, so let me start it. Research.msc, writing run prompt, then the service will open here. Go to MySQL 92 and see if it is started, fine. If it is not started, start it. If it is started, then restart it and see if it is able to connect. And within that, let me go to the folder where my SQL is there so that I can start at least, console. I can open the console of MySQL before that services.msc opens up. Yeah, services.msc also opens up. Let me go to MySQL and open that editor. Yes, MySQL. Where is that MySQL workbench? Yeah, this is MySQL bundle. MySQL this, then bin folder. Inside bin folder, I have to write cmd on the explorer and do it. See, you can do like this, or you can go to command prompt and change the directory. Right? I feel this is the easiest way to go to the folder and type cmd. See, here I started MySQL 92 services. It was stopped earlier because I made it manually, right? When I will start the system, the service will not start because it is manual. So I have to start it. When the service is started, then we'll go and connect. MySQL, right? Minus u, that happen is basically we're telling username is root, then happen P password. You should not type. You can type password here, but don't type it here. Leave it and click on enter. So what will happen? Your password will not be displayed. If you type there, it will be plain text. Here it will be star star star. So I got connected to MySQL database as a new teacher. Now I have to connect to my database which I have created, right? So for that, connect sample DB. We are connected to sample DB. Then select or describe. I have one table, right? Person. You see the person table, right? This is the person table information. Instead in previous session, previous session I explained all about this. If you have not watched, kindly watch the previous session and then watch this session. It will help you. So you want to see what are the record here. Select from see here all the records came, right? Here all the records. Okay. Now let's go to the let me close this in my services.msc because we have already started. It's not required anymore. Let me go to the Eclipse and now run it. See all this console in Eclipse console, you are seeing all these logs, correct? These are coming from the because I have not given so many SOP. These are coming from the logger which is configured by Hibernate APIs. You know, Hibernate API or Hibernate jar which we are using here, that is giving all this API, all this information from the that is executing. See, we got the result output here, right? See this output, whatever it is coming, this one I'm printing. Person, this person I'm printing, right? Person ID, this one I'm printing. But this above thing, I'm not printing. This is coming from the Hibernate only. Show SQL, right? Show SQL, if you make true, it will show. This is what I'm printing. If you see line number 30 number, this is what I'm printing. I'm iterating the for loop, whatever the data I'm fetching, and then I'm testing it here. I will show you this retrieval method now. Instead, I've just shown you how it get executed. Now you see it. See, retrieve all 33 line number. You know, this method is very easy. It's not required anything to write. You know, your what happen get session dot get create query. And you know what is this get session, correct? I should not explain it again. Get session, what I'm doing, I'm calling Hibernate utility dot get session factory. I'm getting the session factory object, and then I'm using Hibernate utility dot get session. I'm getting the session also. See, it depends how you define, how you write the program. See, still, you know, here you see this line number 36 list, get session, create query, right? So when you use get session, create query from person and person dot class, right? So why person dot class I've given? Because this guy create query is expecting, if you see create query is expecting here criteria, you know, create query will have the criteria delete, criteria query, you know, string and string class. So what I used this criteria, this query, this particular create query, which is taking string as one argument and class as one argument, right? So what I'm doing here, I'm passing string from person. Yeah? From person table, you fetch person dot class, and what it is a list. When you say list, basically you are trying to tell select or fetch all the data, right? So it is going to fetch all the data here, and it will return all the data to back, you know, to the backend to the callers method. And what happened? We can display it there. We can use it to render it on the different pages, right? We can do the way we need the data. This is how the retrieval method. Now, see, this is retrieval. I have explained you the save method also here, right? And I will show you one more, get person by ID. See here I am doing get person by ID, right? In line number 43. You see person equal to null. Your person get session get. You know, get session use get method. And then write person dot class and ID. You see person dot class because you're only going to fetch one record based on the primary key, right? That is the reason we need to have That is the that is the reason we need to have, that is the reason we need to define a single class here. What class we're going to get? I will show you that also. I'm just trying to check something. Hold on. But so coming back to the person now, see, so I just, when you fetch a record by ID, you'd be only fetching a single record, right? When you fetch a record by ID, you'll be only fetching a single record. So no need of making at least get session get, it will give you person dot class written based on the ID. Yes, see, I have not written any query, only get method. So what it actually happens, it internally creates query for by a query and execute on the database. In this way, whatever you are seeing in console, this query it got created, right? Select person from this, where person p1 equal to 0, right? This is the query while fetching all the data. Means here there is no condition, where condition is not there, right? Select from person, that's all. So that is what we did in retrieve all, right? Create query from person. We don't have any where condition. Now coming down to get person by ID in line number 43, here see what kind of query it is creating. I'll comment it out this code. So this is now enabled, right? I'm going to fetch the record by person ID, person DO, person by ID, right? See, I'm printing that also. Let's see what query it is getting. Let me run it. See what happened here. From person, select this all attributes. Then from person, where person ID equal to question mark. That ID, whatever I passed, they will add replace with the question mark. That means it is similar to the JDBC code what we have written yesterday, right? Prepared statement and the question mark. So internally they are using Java APIs and other APIs to create a query out of it and execute it. So now our headache is not there to create the query. We just need to call the method and we need to say which table and which ID. That's all, right? We're not creating any query. This is that headache is gone from the developer side. So developer need to concentrate on how to create the logic, best logic to get the information in the best way. And sometimes what happen now, sometime while using this method, if you have a complex table structure in RDBMS, it is really tough to fetch the data from that all complex join table. Sometimes we have to use SQL queries, native SQL queries as a named query and fetch the information. Again, it depends on how you are writing the code. You can use native queries using named query, or you can also construct this particular method using Hibernate query to fetch all the information in an efficient way. Right? So this is how get person ID. Now what I want to show you this what all APIs I have used to fetch information from the or how what all jars are used to get all these for this Hibernate, right? So if you see this form file, right? In this form file, I have some dependencies. In this form file, I have some dependencies, and these dependencies, what is there? The first dependencies is this one, 6.2.0 final. I'm using the final version of 6.2.0 Hibernate ORM, that is Hibernate for artifact ID, and group ID is org.hibernate.orm. Then then I'm using MySQL, this thing, right? This is I'm using, and see, this is Hibernate is this are you use, and if you see any dependency into it, you just keep adding the dependencies. For example, let's say you know, yeah. So if you don't add the dependencies, So it will basically what will happen, it will uh, throw an error if it is major, and if it is minor where the dependencies are like loggers, right? Here I have not added any logger file or logger API. So what happens when I run this Hibernate query? It is printing everything in the console, and you see these colors. It is printing everything in the console with this color, right? Now, if I add logger here, it will give you a different look and feel. So let me do that. Let me add a logger here. Before doing that, what I have to do, I have to add the dependency of logger in my form. Otherwise, it will not work, right? So see, I have already a logger here. I am adding the dependencies into the logger. Here you see dependency org apache.login.log4j, log4j core 2.24. Yeah, 3. See, Log4j version 1 has a different configuration little bit. There is a little bit variation in Log4j 2. I am using the Log4j 2 now in market. Log4j 2 people are using, if you see any old application, they'll be using Log4j. Only the class structure in Java is different. Other than that, the few configurations are different. Other than that, everything is same. Now let's go. Since we have added the dependency into the form file, if you see my line number 47, 252. This is the dependency which I have added here. 51. Right? Line number 47 to 51. These are dependencies which I have added for log4j. Now let's go, and let's go and see how it works. First, we will add this dependency in the JDBC class. See, because why I am adding that to JDBC class? JDBC class is not showing any, but it's not showing us any this error. I will go to main JDBC, and in main JDBC class, what I have done in yesterday or previous session, I'm doing here update. Correct? We have any delete? We have update? We have save? We have get connection? Save? Do we have any select here? No select query, right? So we'll write one select method here, and then we will write the logger to that method, for the better. See, what I will do, I will write a select query here first. Public void get by ID. Will do get person by ID, right? Get person by. See, here I'm not returning anything because here I'm not returning anything. The reason behind uh, that, this is only for your to show you. See here, select person. Select star from person, right? Where ID equal to question mark. This is what we are going to do. This is we are going to do, right? So here, sometime, what will happen? This star, if it won't work, then we have to do we have to write all the parameters. What all we want to fetch. So I have to add the SQL exception here. I'm adding the SQL exception. So SQL exception is added, right? And this connection, my connection is showing error because I am not getting used to get connection here. So let me add the get connection. Okay. So here I got the connection object. I'm creating this. Here set string one equal to the ID. That ID, what ID I will give? Hold on. Let me fetch the ID here. Whatever we're fetching, will fetch the same ID. This ID I will paste it here in my JDBC. This, right? This is the ID I'm fetching it here. I put it in line number 85. You are seeing I pasted the ID. I'm deleting the line number. This thing only one, right? Now execute update. It's not execute update anymore. It's just you have to see which one we're going to use. We can use only execute. You can use only execute here. When we are using array execute, it will return. But hold on, it will return something wherever. Hmm. We will do this execute and it will return boolean, right? It will return boolean. Return boolean if it is successfully executed, it will return true. If it is not, it will return false. This is how it is. Now see, it will execute and it will return a result set to the prepared statement. And from prepared statement, we have to get the result set. And from the result set only, we will be able to fetch the data. That is what we used to do earlier. I am expecting it will be the same till today. So after getting this result set, you know, if it is if it is successfully executed, inside this we can iterate the result set and to get the value. Now here, it's been a long time I am doing again, so it might do something wrong. Let's see. Let's see how it goes. Result set dot. You have to Google it. Mm, is there something to execute? Yeah, it is execute query. It is execute query, not execute. That's why it is execute query. This execute query will give us a result set. I was using something different. That's why I got confused. So this will give us result set. It's not execute. It is execute query. Execute also will be work. So here, then we have to do what? Filter the catch. Then we have to check the result set. But result set, know, yes. So this is what we are getting now. Result set dot delete equals find column first. There is something next or something. That's method dot next. Yes. That is how it is. Let's see if it has something called has. Why dot next. set dot. That way also it will work. That way also it will work. Prepare dot statement dot execute. You do, then you do result set. That way also it will work. This is the approach I had taken. I was used in my very beginning of my career in 2006 or 2007. Now it is, now it is 2025. Now no one uses JDBC. Very rarely people use. Okay, I'll just fetch get string, and this is the, I'll pass the column index. Right. Only first one I'll fetch. This is not only one, only one will see if it works out, then we'll go and fetch for other columns. But it is showing error. Something missed, yeah, like it missed, right? Let's go and fetch this get person ID, and let's run it now. If it works, column one not found. Connection established. You see if it has, if it has successfully, okay, it has successfully executed. That's why it is gone there. So instead of column one, let's say first name is the column, right? Sorry, ID. What is that? Let's see, it is ID, right? We'll put ID. Yes, we got the ID, right? Now in this way, you have to print one after the other. So this is how so how much hard work you are doing here, right? But if you see, if you see in Hibernate, how easy, how easy it is, right? So that is another, problem when you use JDBC. You have to write lots of code. So that's the reason you have different frameworks which reduce the, make developer life easier by reducing the number of codes, boilerplate codes we write, right? So this is how it is. So let me put your first name. A long time I'm writing this and it is work also. Right? Name is, then we have gender, anything else we have. Last name, middle name is gender. That's all right. Let me run it now. See, Madhusudha Sahu, okay, right? Madhusudha Sahu, and these all things in this, right? If you want to print it in a single line, just remove this print ln from the print. It will always print in the single line. This is my wife name. I put her ID here. No, these are dummy IDs. There is nothing. This document ID is not actually attached to anything. These are just general ID I created for the sample. See, this is how I got this record, right? If I just put, so let's start from person. That will happen. How many records I'll fetch? That's it. Index out of error. Oh, okay. This prepared statement, I have this. See, I removed that question mark, but still I have in 80, line number 89 that index set string, right? That is not required anymore. See, it is giving me all the record, right? It is giving me all the record, but it is giving a single line. To make it another line, what I will do, I'll put a simple system.out.println. It will break the line. We'll go to the next line at the end. See, all the record we got, right? All the record we got it here. So this is how in JDBC works. Now what I want to do, I want to integrate logger here. How I can integrate a logger? Rather printing it into the console, I want to put it into the file system. I want to generate this logger in a file system. See, first we in the POM file we added our logger dependencies. That's line number 47 to 51. And then what you have to do, then you need to have a log4j XML file, and that file should be in the resource folder. See, here in resource folder, I have created a log4j XML file. Just starting before starting this session, I have this XML file. I will explain this XML file what it does and what all they have there. Let me open this. Earlier it used to log4j XML. For version 2, log4j 2 XML, 2.xml, right? So this is how it is. Let me maximize. See, in this configuration in Log4j XML, in Log4j XML, always you will have this XML tag. Any XML file you have, right? Always you will have in the first line will be the XML version and encoding UTF-8. That will be there. That is by default. Then the configuration, line number 2, the configuration tag stats. This is how you configure for your, you know, loggers. So your configuration status is information. This status is information, and we are trying to display the information on this. But while adding this logger, the main thing is you have to write a appender where you're going to append this logs which is getting generated by the application. You can append it to the console or you can append it to the file. See, console is basically where your server is running in standalone application. Where when I used to do Java C or Java command, that time the console starts and it will print in that command prompt. In Eclipse, you can see where the console is printing, right? That is the console. So here it is console. Name is console, target is system.out. When I'm saying console, where I'm trying to print it, system.out, right? So it should print to the consoles. Pattern, you know, what is pattern? What all I want to create the pattern? There is something called regular expression. So if you have to define that pattern. Here I am saying YYMMDD. This is the date, then hour, minute, second, then percentage T, then percentage pipe label, logger. This is kind of a regular access pattern. I will explain it later. First, let me integrate and run it. Then we'll explain these patterns in detail, right? So see, if you change this pattern, your printing pattern, log output pattern will change. So again, I have another something called log name, file name. I am trying to print this log inside my project only. I have given the path where to print. Pattern is same, but I am saying here file name. You print it here. When it is console, I am giving a target. You print it in this console, right? So first I'll comment out this file one. I will just give you the console one. And if you are serious to learn about pattern, you can also Google this pattern or know what this pattern, what I'm trying to fit. See, I will explain while display. When this value get displayed there, you'll understand what this pattern is. So let me I just enabled the console one, but this only by writing this file and keeping it in the logger in the resource folder or in the class path won't help us. We have to add loggers to our application to print the log. So if I go to main Hibernate here, yeah, I just tested before this. So I'll have some logger here. Yeah. First, we have to initialize the logger, right? So how can we initialize logger? Logger is no anything in Java. First, you have to initialize, you create an object, right? Instantiate that object, and then you can use it. So this is the JDBC class. Here, this is how you can initialize the log line number 15. If you see public static, I am trying to initialize the log here. Java, org, Apache, this, right? Right, it's coming to it. So this, see, Log4j log manager, get logger. No, there is one is logger, one is log manager. Log manager will give you one instance of logger, and using that logger instance, you can always initialize the code or whatever you want to write. So I will go to the method which I have written, get person by ID in front of you all. I will just put the message here, logger dot info, right? Logger dot. There are different levels of logger. I will explain that after this. See, these so many things are not required for us. I will just want to pass one message. There are so many methods, overloaded method for this. I will just pass one method, saying inside method, and I will put one more logger at the end. Here at the end, I'll put exit from the method. Now what I will do, this is whatever we are trying to print inside this SOP, right? We can put the same thing here also by using logger.info, and we can print the same thing here by using logger.info. So what will happen? It will no more print in the. I'll just print the out ID for your knowledge, because typing all of them will take time. Anyway, let me print what is there. Let me print everything in one logger, right? Let me print everything in one logger so that it will be in one single line. Right? So I have added to one logger. At the end, I'll print that logger. Right? Now what we will do, we will comment out these SOPs, or if you let the SOPs be there, right? Let the SOPs be there and this. Now let me go and run this. Right? Let me go and run this application. See what happens now. Yes. So it is the execution started, the execution started, the execution ended also, right? Let me go and open the console, maximize it. See, here, main error, unable to locate appender file, log4j file, logger.config.root. See, it is saying unable to open some file. Maybe I might have missed some configuration file, right? Then location CO session target XML classes dot these. So it is printing his own log from the main method. When we're initializing the logger, it is printing his own log. Now what happened? Connection established. This is SOP which I have written, right? If you see this all starting from here to here, what is this? This is a logger, right? This is the logger which I have printed. Com dot this is C. This is all the loggers which I have printed. It is coming here, right? And in between that, if you will see, this is SOP, 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 and this is the logger file. What is printing info? Then it is giving the fully qualified name of the class, and then the message which I have printed, right? And if you see the pattern which I have defined for the date, we year, month, and day, it is printing accordingly. Then the time, hour, right? Hour, minute, second, millisecond. That is the pattern which is defined. Then logger matches. This is how it is printing, right? So now this is how you have seen so simple integrating logger to this application, right? Now you see the same thing will do with Hibernate. How many more loggers will get generated when you do the same thing with Hibernate? Because since there is no logger, just let me comment out this one, enable this, enable log for manager, right? So log manager and this here I think I have one logger. See what will happen now if I run this, right? It will generate lots of logger. It will generate my logger classes, the logger which I've written. Along with that, it will generate lots of logger from Hibernate also. See, debug, main, debug, info. Hibernate also started generating the logger file. Now you don't see that red thing, right? You don't see the console, original console print, the console print. You don't see anymore, right? See so many loggers, the way it has generated. Earlier we were not seeing so many loggers, right? Now you are seeing so many logs coming out of it because we have integrated we have integrated this particular this thing and it is coming. See, private accessory is giving some. If you have some warnings or errors which is actually happening, it will say you. See, unable to create the reflection optimizer for this person class, and then it is saying private accessor is has some issue. Age attribute has some issue, but anyway, it created, it executed. See here, you will see object graph. You will be also able to see object graph here when you add the logger. This is the object graph. ORM mapping of the object graph. Person, for person, then age, where these all are there, right? You see the object graph, and then you see the query. What exact query? It has written here. We are seeing the SQL query. That is SOP, right? When you are running in the console, you only used to see this SQL query. But here you see select statement from this is Hibernate query from clause standard table group P1 column this primary table reference this, right? So this is showing this query when it executed from the this is the class org Hibernate ORM SQL AST3. This is a class. This is a path from where this query got executed select statement SQL AST3. So this is how you can debug your application by adding debuggers or log4j, right, to your application. Now see how what happens, console what happens. This console will have some memory. After that it will go. Now what happened? You want to keep or generate into a log file. How we will do that, right? Just I'll go and show you here with the same how to do that. Go to the same my project. Let me so Java session, Java XML. See, I will delete this one. There is already one log file. I will delete that because before initializing this, before starting this session, I just used that to show you. So see, now I will enable this. We will get logger in console as well as we'll get logger in a file. And the file path, whatever I've given, it will be in the same path. The POC, Java session, Java XML app.log, right? So let me go to the main JDBC and run it from not from main JDBC. Yeah, here also we can do that because we have defined that file, right? So we can do it from here, but let's go and do it from the Hibernate, this guy, right? Hibernate main and run it. See, we see all the log here, right? What log you see here, the same log will be in the file. So let me open this here, right? Previous year in 2024, few people came. They I just told them about this. You can add this logger in your application. They saw me. They have shown me the projects. I asked, see how you are debugging this. It will be very difficult, right? They said yes. So I asked them. I use Log4j. That college students, they don't, they're doing their minor project. They don't have that much of information. See this file. Lots of information now you got. And what information you got there? Here also will have the same information. I'm scrolling down slowly. You see we'll have the same object graph and we'll have same query here, same exception. See, this is object graph here, right? This is object graph, domain result. They say it domain result, but this is object graph, okay? And then this select statement, Hibernate select statement is here, right? And you come down, you see there goes the query also, right? Everything what you see there, you see in the console file. The beautifulness of this is you can define the console file. You can store it for a long time. It will not only for that particular time. In console, what happen when you run it again, that output will go. If you have some memory allocated to console, after that memory it will delete that output. It won't keep that output in the console. So what you do, if you create a different configuration file, you know, that will be there for the long run. And you can see today's file, tomorrow's file. In big application, what happens? The file size become huge. So what happened? We always generate different file based on the timestamp, and we give a size to the file. This file should be this much KB or maybe this much MB, and after that it will create another file. Right? Rolling files we call it as. I will show you all this configuration in coming session. This configuration I will show you in Log4j how to do in coming session, and in coming session if possible I will. Tell you what are the patterns, design patterns, basic design patterns, right? And next session will be after that. Next session will be about Spring and Hibernate integration. This is what my plan. So keep watching my videos. It will definitely help you, to have or to develop a better application for your school. Or if you are working as a fresher, you will understand many basic concepts, and you will be able to do it. Here it is done. I was thinking to tell you something else. Yes. Let's go to the person DO class, right? Let's go to the person DO class. In person DO class, there is no logger, right? No logger. So what I need to do, I need to initialize the logger and then I need to add it. See, I will add it for your, to let you know, we can add it to all classes. So let's take this particular single line private static logger there and put it there, right? In person DO. So I added this logger here, right? Logger manager dot get log. See, I would have explained more here. I will explain you the debug level of logger, different levels of logger. Let me show this and then I will explain you. I will finish that part today. What is log4j, or different levels of logger, what all log information you can gather. I will finish that very part today, and tomorrow I will show you more about the configuration. So there is update operation. I have not shown you. I will show it you. Along with now continuously we'll go with Hibernate Spring, right? So this get update I will show you after integrating this logger. Now what we are fetching, we are fetching the records based on in main which record we are fetching, what is the query we are executing. We are fetching by person ID. Let's go to that person do person ID method, right? Person do get person by ID. So here we will add the logger, right? Like this, we will add the logger here. Let's say logger dot info, right? Always it is giving me this one IDs. So here, never print any ID to the log file. Your password, IDs, any critical information or important information or the information which should not be published outside. You should not print into your log file because someone can read from your log file that information. Never, if you are working in a banking application, never put any banking account, person's name, or banking customer ID, or any vital information on the banking system. If you are writing any application for any vital system of the banking application, don't put any information on the particular that console file or log file. Inside get person by ID, right? Get person. You know what is reflection? In Java, there is something called reflection. There's so many concepts in Java, right? If a person who is working just as a developer, they won't go and read, they won't learn, then only know how to write the code, how to execute. That's all the basic things, which is required in daily to day-to-day life. But if you read into Java, if you, if you read Java, it's huge. It enter to get person by ID, exited, get person by ID, or exited, get person by ID, right? Now, in between that, what we want to print? I'll just print person object here. Since this is a dummy application, just I'll print person object here. You should not print anything, right? If you should not print the person object, whatever, if you want to see person object is not there, you can just print some information which is not used to anyone. I just print something, let's say person name, right? I will not print person name. I will just print person only because I will just print only person, right? Person. This method level, right? Now let me run it. Before that, what I will do, I will clean all this log from the log file. See, I've cleaned this log file and I've saved it. Nothing is in this file. I'm refreshing in this file. Nothing is there in the file. I will run it. So let me run it now. Done. We exited, right? Still it is executing, right? So the information here in console also we got. See, person this, right? This is the information we got. Let's go to the here. See, I'm printing the person here, right? This is the SOP in console. This is the SOP. This person. If you see where I have selected, this is the SOP we have printed, right? Here in line number 40. Now, after exited person by ID, it's after exited. If you see before, just above exited, there is another person. That is coming from the log file. Logger, that is coming from the logger.info. Let's go to the log file now. Coming down, pull down. No, you will not have that SOP in the log file. See, in log file, if you see, in log file, if you see, let me do this. See how many lines of logger it has generated. 686. See, exited by get by person ID, right? Now, just above that, I have printed information person. So, do you see here system.out.println in 687? No. So no system.out.println will come to the log file. Only it will have the logger information, what you want to log in your log file, right? So what we do when we're in the real world, in the real, in software development field, in the real world, what actually people do or what actually is implemented, the log which help us to debug the application, that kind of log only will put in the log file. Other unnecessary thing will not put into the log file. See, here we have come to the log4j. I've just googled it and upon it we have come to the log4j. Here it is log4j. Log4j2 is the latest version of the log4j framework released in 2014. It is complete rewrite of the original log4j library and introduces many new features and improvements over its predecessor. Right? It's just another improvement of your. They added so many new features, new functionality, a little bit here and there. So if you come to the log4j, they have different levels. See, this is the level, severity level: trace, debug, information, one, error. So you can write logger.trace, you can write logger.debug, you can write logger.info, you can write logger.one, you can write logger.error. This is this thing. So when you write logger.trace, what will happen when you write logger dot, that visibility should be there, right? Here it is given trace. Trace is the least severe log level, typically used to log fine-grained information about the program execution, such as entering or executing log information and variable values and other low-level details that can help in understanding the internal workings of your code. This is trace and debug. It is used to log messages intended to helpful during the development and testing process, which is usually program state information that can be helpful when ascertaining whether an operation is being performed correctly or not. Right. So this debug is used in most of the time development and testing process. It is in production. Sometimes debug levels are always off. It's not enabled. How to on and how to off, that also I will show in coming session. You go to info. It is used for informational messages that records events that occur during the normal operation of your application, such as user authentication, API calls, database access. These messages help you understand what's happening on the application. See what happened when you're executing some application. You have different state, different state. If workflow is integrated, that is a different story. Your workflow will keep track of it. If you don't have integrated workflow in an application, you need to keep track of your application from one state to the other state, right? And if something goes wrong, you need to identify in which particular point of call or point of or time or moment, or in this particular point of method call or point of transaction, this application failed or something went wrong. If you want to track, you can track it from log file by using this info, logger.info. Then you have logger.one. These events logged at this level indicate potential issue that might require your attention before they come significant problem. So in application, we use sometimes logger.one, in kind of where we see there will be some potential issues, right? Where there will be some, application might have some issue if this warnings are coming, right? We have seen in logger here, we have seen some error in, and will just show you here. We see some error right here. Here we see some error for the debug. Here we have seen some error, right? That error is now it's coming, not coming. For percentage, it has given some error, right? It's not in the log file. See here it's saying debug, right? Or this byte buddy, byte code provider IMP, reflection optimizer 4%, unable to create reflection optimizer. It is giving this error, right? So these are kind of debug application where you want to see what went wrong, what can be done to fix that, right? The similar kind of uh, information you get from the log file when you add this logger. To the person, if you have not worked on it, you just read it, whatever I am explaining. Once you go and read yourself, you will be able to understand it. You will be, and only reading will not help you out. You implement in your application and try switching on debug, switching on one, switching on error, switching on fatal, switching on off, right? You will be able to understand the use of logger very easily, and you will be able to use it in the application wherever, whichever is required. These are 5 levels: trace, debug, info, one, and error, right? These are 5 levels of your log4j configuration. See here it is given percentage 5 level, right? Hyphen 5 level. So here if I remove this, your percentage is basically tap. If I remove this 5 level, what will happen? So the configuration has been changed. It will not give all 5 levels. Let me run it. If that is actually the mint, if that line actually meant for that, it will not give you all 5 levels. Let us run it and see it. See what we are seeing here. You are seeing now everything debug. You are seeing info. Whatever I have printed, these are infos. So everything is coming. Debug is also coming. Info is coming. Let run it. And after that, I will end this session today here. We read logger.debug, go through the theory. Tomorrow I will, show you the configuration part of it and how you can go and do it, right? How can on one specific level, how can you on off another specific level, right? We add lots of code in our we add lots of code in our debugger in logger, but all are not enabled in production environment because it will make application a little bit slower, right? So we don't enable all of them in production environment. So I don't see much of the difference here. I will let coming session. This is how it is. The only thing is this log4j configuration Excel file. Whatever you do, you just configure this file and keep it in your class path. And if you have updated loggers to your application, it will initialize the logger, it will start printing the logger. So today we have gone through the logger configuration, we have gone through the Hibernate, operation, right? One of the method, Hibernate operation, one of the method in JDBC also. So tomorrow the same thing I will do, and I will finish that, and after that I will might show you some design patterns, basic design patterns, right? Like singleton and factory design pattern. So and then we'll proceed to Hibernate. I will tomorrow show you. See the way I've written this main JDBC today. One method to retrieve, right? One method I've written to retrieve get person by ID, and I integrated the logger here. Similarly, tomorrow I will show you the person do update method. I have not shown you that update method, but update method we have seen it here, right? So how we can update using in Hibernate. I will show you that, and then we will exit the basic of Hibernate and we'll come to the Spring. In Spring, the core part or the basic part which people use is interface web implementation, and that is implemented by inversion of control. We call it as IOC, dependency injections. So that from that we will start, and then we will go to the integration of Hibernate, that ORM Spring ORM integration is done. That is the core part of full stack development service layer and your data access layer, right? So this is how basic you want to develop the application. This is how basic, and you want to go in depth. So many things are there in distributed environment: transaction, batch processing, scheduler, messaging, queuing. So many things are there when you start working or make an application for distributed environment. But if you're making a simple application for your company or organization, which will be accessed through browser, you don't need so many things. Whatever I'm showing, it's a very simple application. It's not going to be any deployed in any distributed environment. Anyway, so thank you for watching this video till the end. Watch coming session. You will get all complete information about you know uh, Hibernate and other stuff. Anyway, Hibernate I have explained everything. Session factory session everything. Hibernate explanation is done. I just need to go through the method update method. I'll go through the coming session. Thank you everyone.